Hey everyone, welcome into this video. I'm so glad that you were here. We're going to cover a lot of important things today. And as you can see from the title of this video or from the thumbnail, we're going to talk about podcasts and SEO. Now, this was the very first session of the Podcast Lab, which is my new community that I'm just launching. Now, this is one session that we did, and we're going to talk about other things in the future that I hope you join in for. But in this session that we had, I invited Heidy De La Cruz to come in. She's an award-winning podcaster, and she knows a lot about podcasts and SEO. Now, SEO, if you've heard the term before, stands for search engine optimization, right? So how to use keywords so that people who are searching online for things can find what you were talking about. And as podcasters, we absolutely need to learn this. And that's what we learned today in this session of the Podcast Lab. We learned podcasts and SEO. So we're going to jump into the call right now. It's about an hour long. Make sure that you have your pen and paper so that you can take notes and apply some of the things that Heidy talked about. She mentioned it in the chat, but she doesn't gatekeep any information. So she gave as much as she could in this call. So let's get into it right now. And make sure, again, that you take notes and apply what you learned because it was a blast. So let's get into it now. So this is the Podcast Lab. So I don't know, if you guys remember when you were in high school, when you had the science lab, when you get to do experiments with some of your classmates, you get to test things out, see what happens. I love that about high school. And my podcast production business is Podcast Production Labs. So I call this the Podcast Lab. This is the place where we can get together, where we can learn, where we can do experiments with our podcast and grow and get better so that we can make more impact with our podcast. So that's what the Podcast Lab is about. Now, this is a new community that I'm just starting right now. But before I even get into, what the Podcast Lab is, let me just explain who I am. Okay. So if you guys never followed me on social media before or don't know anything about me, my name is Chris Crary. Okay. I live in just outside of Toronto, Canada, and or outside of Toronto in Canada, I should say. And I'm a podcaster, a podcast producer, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I love it. There's something about creating a podcast or creating a message from what's inside of your heart and getting it out there for the world to see and hear I just love that about podcasting. And there's something about it when I hear a good podcast, when I finish a podcast episode and I, put it out there to the world and I hear, people say, give me a thumbs up on it or send me comments about it. Or when I listen to a podcast and I hear like a really, really good conversation that causes me to change perspective of the way I think about something or causes me to grow in some way, shape, or form. That's what I love about podcasting. And I've been doing this for a long time, been working with a lot of podcasters, and I don't think there's a way for me to calculate it. So this is an estimate, but I think I'm responsible for uh, tens of thousands of downloads, podcast downloads between my own podcast and the podcast that I've worked on over the course of, the 7+ years that I've been doing this. So that's a lot of podcasting that I've been doing, and I'm actually responsible for getting out there in the world. So I'm just truly blessed that I have this ability and this talent. It actually came from me when I used to produce music, right? So I have my guitar back there. I don't know if you guys can see it, and my keyboard is back there also, but I play music and I sing and I used to produce music. And I started the podcast because I had all the equipment and a message inside of me and I needed to get it out. So this is what I did. I started the podcast 7 years ago, and here I am today, helping other people get their message out and also getting my own message out there to the world. And I love to help people. I have a training and development background, also a technology background as well. So this is just right up my alley. And what we're going to talk about today is SEO, podcast and SEO. Now, and again, this is just one topic that we're going to talk about today in the Podcast Lab community. Now, these are my two podcasts. First one is, or the one on the right is the Faith Fight podcast. That's the one that started it all more than 7 years ago. And the podcast that I started 2 years ago is called I Made a Podcast, which is about podcasting, which kind of, started all of this stuff with podcast production labs and everything here. So, and if you can't tell, those are both the same pictures of me. I just kind of rearranged them differently, but I probably will change that up in a second because it actually makes a difference with regards to how people find your podcast. But I'll get to that later. So, what is the podcast lab? I briefly touched about it. So, if you're serious about podcasting and you believe these three things, that your voice matters, that you believe that you have a podcast and that you want your podcast to grow, and you just need to get the right support to do that. And if you're convinced that collaboration and expert guidance can shortcut your journey to success, then that is the three beliefs that the Podcast Lab community is built upon. It's a community of podcasters for those of you who want to stop guessing about podcasting and start growing your podcast and getting your message out there to more people. And inside the Podcast Lab, you'll learn and you'll be able to connect with other like-minded podcasters. You'll be able to build relationships for collaborations and accountability. And you'll be able to get expert help in the Podcast Lab. And you'll also be able to get feedback on your podcast, support coaching from experts, people like me and Heidi, who's going to be on here in a second to share a little bit about SEO. And you'll be able to learn how to grow your downloads, how to get more engagement, and not just something that's very abstract, but tactical, specific steps of things that you can do with your podcast and do those steps and get the results so that you can take your podcast to the next level, right? And as what we're doing now, we have on a monthly basis, I'm going to have sessions like this where I'm going to bring in experts or lead a session myself to talk about something specific about podcasting so that you can learn from it and then grow and get the results with your podcast that you want to get, the downloads, the engagement, touch the lives of the people that you want to touch with your podcast. All right. And this is exactly what this training is about. This is what the podcast lab is about. So this is a community where we can get together and become members so that we can all grow and get better at what we're doing, which is podcasting. So, before I introduce Heidi, let me just bring up the site for you, and I'm going to share this link for you as well. And I see a whole bunch of other people joined. Okay, we got Nadine here, and we got Carla as well. Hi guys, thanks for joining. If you don't mind, I love to know where people are from. So just put in the chat like which city you're from, if you feel comfortable to do so. I like to know where people are from, just so that we can. I just like to know. So the podcast lab, let me just get it up here on this screen so that you guys can see the site and share. This is it right here. And I will share this link in the chat right now. So this is the podcast lab. It's a membership. It's a paid membership. Right now it is free and this event is free, but it is a paid membership that any podcaster can join. If you guys want to join, you can join right now to the podcast lab. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Let me do that so that you can see it. But for right now, it's actually open. So you can browse through it and do what you need to do. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Let me take that out of there real quick. I don't want you to go to the website just yet because I want you to pay attention to Heidi's lesson that she's going to teach on podcast SEO. So I'm going to put the link in the chat after so that I don't want to distract you guys, but let me share with you what the podcast lab is about. Okay, so here it is. So the podcast lab, it has a place here for you to connect. So there's the podcast hub. Now in this section, there's all of the podcasters who are a member of this group will be listed here so that you can browse and see all of the other podcasters. You can see which podcasters you guys have commonalities with, and you can connect collaborate, grow, and work together. There is the Resource Center, which has blog posts and videos with strategic things that you can use to apply to your podcast. And then there's the event space, which all of the events and the replays for the trainings that we're going to do are going to be housed in this section. And then there's the Q&A section. So when I was a podcaster and I was just starting out, I didn't have anybody to go to ask any questions or to get feedback on my episodes, to get any advice of what I need to do to get better. The Q&A section, that's what it's for. So if you are a member of the Podcast Lab community, you'll be able to go into the Q&A section and say, "Hey, Chris," or "Hey, whoever, I did this podcast episode and I used this tool and I want to get your feedback. Can you listen to my latest episode?" And members will get, we will listen, I will listen to your message or listen to your episode and answer your question. If there's something specific that you have a question on podcasting on, just go into the Q&A, fill out the form and submit it, and you will get instant feedback from me, real feedback, not AI, but real feedback from me on your podcast. Okay. And this is one of the benefits of becoming a member of the Podcast Lab. All right. Now, let me just show you guys the cost of joining the Podcast Lab. So it's really simple. So the monthly membership is $10 per month. Okay. That's it. And every month you get paid you pay the $10 and you'll have access to the Podcast Lab. Now, if you want to join with the annual membership, you get a little bit more. It's $120 per year, but you will also get everything in the monthly membership, but you'll also get a free one-on-one strategy session for your podcast, 30 to 60 minutes. You'll also get a podcast audit once per year, right? Which will give you an audit of exactly what your podcast is doing and how you can change certain things in order to get better. And this price of $120 for the annual membership will be locked in forever. Now, the monthly membership, the $10 per month, that's what it is right now, but I'm guaranteeing you that I know that it will go up soon. So if you want to lock in with the annual membership, you can do that. But again, I'm going to put this link in the chat after the session so that you guys, if you want to join and get these benefits of becoming a Podcast Lab community member, you can join and do that. And this event today is free and there's no cost to it. So I'm glad that you joined. But the next session, I'm on the fence whether I should make it free or just for members only. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But the next event, for sure, I know the topic is going to be podcast and business. How to run your podcast as a business or how to use your podcast with your business, right? So the collaboration and how to get the most out of it. That's going to be the next event in August. Okay. So I'm on the fence whether to make it free still or to have it paid, but we'll see what happens. It's good that you are all on the list because you registered. I'll send out the notifications of when that event is so that you guys can join in and be part of that call as well. All right, so let's get to Heidi's message today. And where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay. Let's go slideshow. There we go. All right, Heidy De La Cruz. Okay, so I had the pleasure of interviewing. Oh, just a second. Can you guys see the screen? Let me just make sure that you guys can see it. You should be able to see. There we go. If you can't see it, I think you can see it now. Okay, good. Is everyone following me so far? You guys can unmute yourself and you can make comments. I like to hear people. So if you guys can hear me, okay, I'm seeing some yeses here. Okay, good, good, good. Glad that you guys can hear me and can see the screen. This is great, and I'm excited about this. So, Heidy, I interviewed Heidy on I Made a Podcast way back in January 2024. She was one of the first people that I interviewed, and she gave me an overview of why she got into podcast and her entire story of when she started. It was a great episode, and I would encourage you guys to go back and listen to that episode that I did with Heidy. But we've connected back then, and we've done a few things in since then, and I was thinking about doing this session on SEO for podcasters, and like I had the thought of doing it, and then I saw she posted something about it, and I was like, hey, why don't I ask her to come and teach it? So Heidi is a podcaster, she's a speaker, she's a writer, and she hosts the weekly development newsletter called Into My Thoughts on Substack. So she shares her life experiences and life lessons. She does book reviews there on that site as well, and she also gives her opinion piece. She delivers opinion pieces as well. Now, Heidi is the host of the award-winning podcast. Yes, she's won awards for her podcast, and she's the one that's going to teach us today. Her podcast is called The American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants, where immigrants share their journey of coming to the United States and the all the stories and everything that happened in that journey. And it's a great podcast. I've listened to so many episodes, and it's a great podcast. Go listen to that podcast and see what you can learn from Heidi, because she's killing it when it comes to podcasts, and she's doing a great job. So she also helps women entrepreneurs and busy moms who wish to start their podcast, and she has digital products to help them. And she also has a 6-week podcasting course to help launch podcasts. And in her free time, she enjoys reading, listening to podcasts, and making memories with her family. I believe that you guys were just at a baseball game this past weekend, Heidi. But yeah, I see it on your Instagram. So I'm just so glad that you're here. So Heidi, I'm gonna throw it over to you now. You can share your screen, and you can take us through the course for SEO for podcasters.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris, and inviting me. Thank you, everyone who logged in today. I'm so excited to be here. One of my favorite things is teaching and sharing my experience and sharing the knowledge that I've learned throughout this journey of podcasting. I've been a podcaster for 3 years now, and it's just been such an amazing journey. Just like Chris, I completely love podcasting, and I feel like I'm very biased, but honestly, like, if you have an interview-based podcast, like, you meet so many incredible people, listen to their stories and connect with them. And it's a great way also to, if you want to do solo episodes, it's a great way, again, to share your experience, share your expertise, and be a thought leader in whatever industry you're in. So yeah, so one of my favorite things to do is to teach. So thank you, Chris, so much for this invitation, and I'm so glad to be here. And let me share my screen so we can get started on podcasts, SEO for podcasters. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can see
Okay,
Heidi. Yeah.
perfect. Thank you. All right, so intro to SEO for podcasters. So yes, Chris did a beautiful introduction of me. Thank you so much for that. And so what is SEO? Chris mentioned earlier, SEO stands for search engine optimization, which is how we find literally anything online, whether it is on Google, on social media, or podcast listening platforms. So podcast listening platforms can be Spotify, Apple, iHeartMedia. I think Simplecast has their own listening platforms now. What's another one? There's so many different apps out there that you can listen to podcasts on. So they each have their own search engine, right? So that's what SEO for podcasters is. And so it's important for you to optimize for SEO for your podcast so it's discoverable. Meaning, when someone on the podcast listening platform is searching for a specific keyword, your podcast or your podcast episode that talks about that keyword or topic comes up. So for example, my podcast is about immigrants sharing their journey, right? So it's immigrant stories. So my keyword is immigrants. And so the title of my podcast is The American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants. So I right now am that is my keyword that I am trying to rank for. And I'm also going to show you guys towards the end a little website that I just came across that actually helps you see where you are ranked for your keywords. So that is what SEO is. And where do we need to optimize on our show for SEO? So there's a few different places that I'm going to be talking about. So first is your podcast name. You definitely want to have your keyword in your podcast name So again, so whenever someone is searching for that particular topic or the theme of your podcast overall, your podcast comes up. And then next would be like episode title. So, right. So each episode will have a specific topic and you want to make sure that your keyword is in the episode title. In your podcast description. So a podcast description is like it should be like 2 or 3 sentences describing what your podcast is about. Right. And so in there, I have, that my podcast is about immigrants sharing their journey. And then I go into a little bit of more detail of like what type of topics we talk within that journey, right? Because immigration is very vast. So we talk about cultural shock, we talk about adaptation, and we then towards the end we talk about what they're currently doing, which the majority of them usually have their own businesses or their own brand. So then we go ahead and talk about how they got into that. So that is what I have in my podcast description, and I made sure that my keyword immigrants is in the podcast description. Next, you definitely want to make sure that each episode has show notes. Show notes are the summary of the episode, and you want to make sure that for each episode that your keyword is in the show notes, right? So what is your episode about? Make sure that the keyword is in there. And please do actually do the show notes because that does help with ranking of your podcast. Because I've seen a few podcasts that like they don't utilize the show notes, and I'm like, no, like you got to utilize the show notes. That's such a big part of the podcasting. And then these two are extra. These two are mostly for marketing. So if you want to repurpose your podcast episodes into blog posts, then you definitely want to use your keywords for that. And then if you want to repurpose your a few seconds of the podcast episode into video clips, like short video clips that you see on social media, then you definitely want to make sure that your keywords are there. But this is more for marketing side of podcasting. So again, with the podcast name, this is the example that I have here. When I searched immigrants on Spotify, my podcast came up because my keyword is immigrants and it's in my episode title, or sorry, my podcast name. So your podcast title should have at least one keyword, preferably the first word. So this is actually a perfect example of do as I say, not as I do, because my keyword is the last word of my episode name or my podcast name, which is okay though, because it's still ranking, but you definitely want to have it preferably be your first word. If you already have a podcast and you don't have your keyword in your podcast name, don't go ahead and change it right now. Or like if you have to like rebrand the whole podcast name, I definitely don't want you to do that right now because there's a strategy behind that. But just letting everybody know that your keyword should be in your podcast name. So next is okay, episode title. So again, each episode is going to have a theme, meaning that that's the subject that you're going to be talking about for the episode, and then you should have keywords in your episode title. So when you're coming up with episode titles, you want to make sure that you are your title is what you're discussing in the episode, and then what is your keyword, right? Those are the two things that you want to think about when you're coming up with episode titles. And then you want to make sure that your keyword is in there. A good thing that I like to do, or a strategy that I like to do to make sure that my episode title is good for SEO is actually running the episode title through Capitalize My Title, which is a website. You would paste on this, oh my gosh, this bar right here. So like let's say for example, I had a episode title. It's called 3 Ways to Repurpose Your Podcast Episode. So I put it here. My headline score was 61, which gave me a green, and that's good because you want the score to be a 60 or higher. And so once you click this little button right here, it actually pulls up more information of the overall headline score. So it gives you a score for the readability, meaning if people are going to be able to read it, the SEO, and then the sentiment. So if like how emotional it is, right? So overall, it gave me a 60, but the SEO is a 69 for this title, right? And I also like to utilize ChatGPT. So what I do is I will upload on ChatGPT my podcast transcript, and I will tell ChatGPT like, "Hey, can you give me 30 good SEO titles based on the content of this transcription for for the podcast episode?" And I'll go through the 30 and then I'll see like to gather ideas. I'll see like, okay, this one looks good. Let me run it through capitalize my title to see what the score is. Or I might take like, okay, the first two words from one suggestion and like the last words from another suggestion and put it together. Or I'll just, based on what ChatGPT is giving me, I may be able to come up with my own episode title and then I'll just run it through capitalize my title to see what my score is. But I definitely want to make sure that it is SEO optimized, that my keyword is in there, and then make sure that the headline score is a 60 or above. You can always go back. Like if you have a few episodes that you kind of want to optimize for SEO and be like, oh, wait, I don't have a keyword in this episode title, you can always go back and change it, right? And update it. Barbara has a question. Yes, Barbara.
Yes, Heidi, thank you so much for today. My
Yes.
question is, how do you determine your keyword?
It's based on what your episode is about.
Right,
And you can also do keyword research. So let me, there is, I like to use this website, free keyword tool, wordstream.com.
right,
And you can look up, so let's say podcasting, right? Find my keywords. All industry, the United States. Let's see. Okay, so here is my keyword podcasting search volume. This is how much is being searched right now on Google, and it tells me that the competition is low.
right,
Let me see marketing, because there's sometimes that it gives you like sometimes you may do a keyword search like, hey, I want to talk about this topic, but when you look up, people are actually searching something else. So
mm,
then you can go ahead and use that keyword for your episode. So let me see. Let's do like podcast marketing. See if it gives me other suggestions. And this is a free tool that you can use to do keyword. Oh, so here we go. So see, so search engine optimization podcast, that's being searched a lot. Marketing smarts, podcast marketing. So like you can just go ahead and look at the list and see what people are actually searching, and then you can kind of adapt to that as well.
Yeah,
okay,
and Heidi, just to jump in here. So this is
Mhm.
a really good tool. What I'm gonna do at the end of the session, I'm gonna send out the recording for this class, and also all of the links that we talked about. I'm gonna
mhm,
send it out as well. So you'll have the links
Okay,
for all of
perfect.
these that you can use. This is a really good tool, Heidi.
mm.
Yeah.
Can I just ask Heidi if you could explain the low medium competition ranking, what that means?
Yes. Yes. So that is so low competition, meaning that you have a higher chance of ranking on the first or second page of Google. If the competition is high, that means your chances for ranking is lower. So when
Right,
it that comes, but this is not for the podcast listening. This is for Google itself. But you
right,
can use, yeah, you can use the keywords. I'm gonna show you towards the end of the presentation, I'm gonna show you a website that actually shows you your competition with other podcasters for certain keywords. This right here is strictly for Google. But I will say when people are searching on Google, right, which is why we're optimizing for SEO, your podcast can come up on Google search, right? So for example, actually let's Google myself. Heidi De La Cruz. Like there are podcast episodes that I have been on. So see these videos, these are podcast episodes.
right,
That was a guest on this one. This was my own show.
right,
So like you can come up. Like this one right here, Meg Ford, I was a guest on that podcast.
right.
So podcasts actually do come up on Google search as well.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Good question. All right. Let's go back to full screen. And then, like I mentioned, the podcast subscription, definitely want to make sure that your keyword is in there. And if you are getting to the point where like you're making a pivot or you're kind of changing the pace of where you're going with your podcast, you can update your podcast subscription, right? That's you're not married to the first podcast subscription that you come up with when you start your podcast. You can always change it later on if you're going on a different direction with your show. Show notes. So like I said earlier, show notes are a summary of your podcast episode, and it describes the episode topics. If you are interviewing guests, you definitely want to include your guest name and include the links to their websites, because that also helps. So for example, let's say somebody is searching for me on a podcast host listening site. They will all my name will come up on all the episodes that I've been a guest on. So if somebody is searching for your guest, you want your episode to come up, right? So they can go ahead and listen to your podcast and then hopefully convert that person into a full-time listener for your show. Let me see. Yeah, so another thing is to help with podcasting SEO, so you can include links to your own website, or blogs if you have one, especially if you're wanting your podcast as part of your business, because that also helps with SEO for your website, like backlinks. So it's all kind of like interconnected when it comes to SEO. So again, the last two are more of a marketing strategy. So if you want to repurpose each episode into blog posts, you can go ahead and make sure that it is formatted. So you can take your show notes, or you can just take your episode outline and turn that into a blog post. Making sure that it is formatted correctly for SEO, making sure that your keyword is in your title. You want to have it in some of the headers. If you have to have pictures, so make sure that your keyword is in your pictures as well. And video clips, right? So if we're gonna take snippets of our podcast episodes and post it on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube Shorts, we want to make sure that our keyword is in the captions, and also, always utilize hashtags. So you definitely want to use your keywords in your hashtags as well. And I believe that is it. So one thing to keep in mind with podcasts in general, and then also SEO for podcasters, is that this is a long-term game. This is marketing for your podcast long-term, and discoverability and growth happens over time, right? So we have to stay consistent to be able to rank, to be able to beat out our competition. But making sure that we're staying consistent is what's really going to help rank your show, and what's really going to help grow your show as well. Because when it comes to podcasting, consistency is key, because a lot of people give up very, very early in the podcasting game. So that's why consistency is key to ranking. And so here is can you guys see the other website that I just posted, or no?
Oh, we could see your Canva presentation.
Okay, so let me stop sharing and then reshare again, so then I can share the
Sure.
website. Okay. Let me know when you can see it.
Okay. So
So
yeah,
Pod
we're seeing it.
SEO?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So Pod SEO is a new software that just came out, I believe, at the beginning of this year, and it's all about podcast SEO. So it tells you where you're ranking, how you're ranking when it comes to your keywords, and then you add on there what keywords you want to rank for. So for me, it's immigrants, immigration, and immigrant stories. So right now it's telling me my SEO score overall is 70 out of 100. It tells you, how many episodes you have, the latest episode that you have recorded. And then here for Apple Podcasts, right now I'm ranking number 3 for my keyword. Spotify, I'm ranking number 2. And then Amazon Music, I'm ranking number 37. But I don't think I have a lot of listeners on Amazon Music, to be completely honest. And so This website also tells you recommendations on how to better your podcast ranking. So if I go to here, 70
Sorry,
overall.
Heidi, can you
Yes,
increase
yes.
your screen? Can you increase the image on the screen
Oh,
so I can
yes.
see it, please?
Is that better?
Yeah, better. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So right now it's telling me again my SEO score is 70 out of 100, so it's in the green, so it's really good. And it also so my primary keywords are immigrants, immigrant stories, and immigration. I did not set it up for any secondary keywords. And so same thing for primary keywords for my SEO strategy, immigrants, immigrant stories, and immigration. So it's telling me for my title that I should consider restructuring my title to immigrant stories and then put the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants to help rank my show. I signed up for this website like a few weeks ago, but I haven't made any changes because I wanted to show you guys the recommendations that it's providing. So then you guys can see for yourself and feel free to sign up. It's also telling me to change my author name. So like put Heidy De La Cruz and then put slash immigrant stories advocate. And then it's also giving me a suggestion of updating my cover art to make it more bold and so people can see it and stand so it can stand out when people are searching for the podcast. And then it's also giving me suggestions for my description, right? So being able to change it and to provide the more direct description. And then it also gives you suggestions for your episode on suggestions on how to, rename it and things like that. And then it also gives you, you can also see your competitors directly. So for me, I am competing against other podcasts that are about immigration, which is also another thing that I want to let you guys know. Like when it comes to like ranking, you're not ranking against all the podcasts that are out there in the world. You are ranking against in your own category and your own keywords. So for example, Chris's podcast, one of them is about podcasting. Him and I are not in competition because mine is about immigration, his is about podcasting. So just to keep that in mind. So here it tells me, it shows me all the podcasts that I am in competition with for the keywords. And then you can go ahead and add it to your watch list, and then it'll tell you as they go up or you go up, and you can keep track of that. So this one here is for Apple Podcasts, and then you can check Spotify as well. So these are the podcasts that I am competing against when it comes to Spotify. And then there's so many other things um in this. It tells you like when you made a change, it tracks that as well. And then it tells you like how far up or down you're going against your competitors. And then let me see what's over here. Oh, I showed you the recommendations. And you
Wow.
can, I believe you can check up to 5 podcasts per account. Because I know, Chris, you have two. So if you create one account, you should be able to track both of your podcasts because I think you're able to track 5
Hmm.
per account. So if anyone is interested in signing up for this, I do have a discount code, which Chris can email you guys. You get 10% off. I believe the monthly price for this is $20 a month. And then the 10% discount with my discount code, which is Heidi 2025. But I signed up for the yearly the yearly thing for it, and it was 200, I believe, for the year. But again, 10% off with my discount code. So I really thought that this was very, very valuable to be able to keep track of how your podcast is doing, making the recommendation changes that it has, so then you can go ahead and continue to rank for your podcast.
Very
And that is
nice.
all I had for today.
Very nice. Clap it up for Heidi.
Thank you.
So listen, there was some questions. Okay, so Byron and Margaret. I don't know, are both of you guys there or just one of you guys? I don't...
Both of us are here.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Good to hear you guys' voice again. By the way, I had Byron and Margaret on my podcast a couple months ago.
Oh, nice.
Podcast is called Beyond I Do. It's a podcast regarding marriage. Excellent podcast. I love our conversation. It was so nice. I loved
Yeah.
it. So you guys had a question about the show notes, right? Do you want to ask your question?
Yes, where do you post your show notes?
You post your show notes on your podcast hosting site and it will distribute to the listening platforms. So you guys have a podcast, right? It's about marriage.
Yes, it's
Mhm.
on we Spotify is the hosting platform.
Is the hosting okay? So when you're uploading your episode, there should be a box
Hmm.
for you to put your show notes in.
Okay.
Yeah. And all hosting sites have it.
Yeah. So Hattie, do you mean just so on Spotify for podcasters, they have a section for the description.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? Like, so just kind of like embed all of the show notes there. I know you can actually
Let
fill a
me
lot of, you
see.
can put a lot of text in that area of the,
Yeah, they limit. I don't know what the limit is though, because they do. I know Buzzsprout
oh,
limits
it's a
it to
lot.
like
It's a lot.
2,000 character. Oh, it's a lot
Yeah, I
for
think,
Spotify?
yeah,
Okay.
for Spotify for podcasters, I think it's about 4,000 characters, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Okay, yeah, because
4,000.
Buzzsprout limits to like 2,000
Yeah. So what you're saying is your show notes, you can take it and put it inside of the description, and
for the episode. Yep.
utilize all of that, the character space that they give you, because the more keywords you can put there, the more the search engines and the algorithm will find your keywords and possibly rank it better
Okay.
on the search engines.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes.
Were there any other questions from anyone, either for me or for from Heidi, who is the expert? Uh,
Is the keyword? Oh, Barbara had put a question. Is the
Yeah,
keyword in the video clip on the clip or in the caption? In the caption.
yeah, I
In
got
the
that
caption.
in the
Mhm.
caption. Yeah, thank you, thank
Yep,
you.
and then hashtags as well. Definitely want to utilize those hashtags. They are
yeah.
still important.
Yeah, and let me share something that I have found. So I'm really fascinated, sometimes how technology is just making things just so, you know, it's just advancing so much. So one of the things that I recently found out, right, because I'm sure you guys are aware of this, but when you post a short video onto Instagram, there's a button that says generate captions. And the technology there reads or listens to your audio and gives you the words of what's being said, right? So it's important now. So if you want, think about this, when you are trying to rank for a specific keyword, if you are going to take captions or sections of your podcast, try to find sections with that specific keyword mentioned in that caption, because the algorithm is reading it. It's reading it to give you, to generate the captions for you. But I'm sure they are using that to rank your podcast according to those keywords as well, right? So if you are cutting up, short form content for your podcast, short clips, try to find keywords. Try to find clips where that keyword is being said so the algorithm can read that as well and hopefully rank it and share it to more people who are searching for that keyword. That's something that, as I'm learning and understanding how this stuff works, that's something that I realize that they have the ability to do, right? Is everyone following me? Like thumbs up if you're following me, if you got that one. Thumbs up? Okay, good, good. I hope you got it. But anyways, you can think about it and think about it and try to listen to your podcast to find the good clips that you can take to, put as short form content on all these platforms because the technology is out there.
Mm.
Now,
You can use
yes,
Riverside too for creating the short clips.
yes, absolutely.
That's a free resource that you could use.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Paula, for joining. So yeah, listen, if you have to leave, hopefully you don't have to leave. Hopefully you'll stay to the end. But the replay is going to be sent out to everybody who registered, so don't worry. Barbara, do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is around the number of keywords. Is it worth going for like 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 keywords for maximum optimization?
Oh, that is a good
That is a
question.
good question.
I usually try to do one
Mm,
to two, but that is a good question.
Hmm. But I will
Let's
say
see.
also, I would also say, Barbara, this tool that Heidi mentioned today, what's it called? WordStream,
PodSEO.com. Oh, yeah.
WordStream, that one. Um, I think when you go into that to try to find your keywords, I
mm,
think you might want to limit it to maybe one or two, the top one or two that have a high score and a low competition, because I think that you will probably get the most bang for your buck. Because what you don't want to do is make your titles look spammy with a whole bunch of keywords.
Oh,
yeah,
keyword stuffing. Don't
You
want to
don't
do
want to
that.
keyword stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
is that the term,
Oh,
keyword stuffing?
Yeah,
Because
keyword stuff.
some
Hmm.
people, would just put a whole bunch of keywords and, trying to fit it into the
description or the
description,
title or
and it
something.
doesn't even make sense to have all these
Yeah.
keywords. You
No,
don't
no.
want to do that. So what I would suggest is use the tool where you can find a word that ranks high for SEO and the competition is low, and just use two, maybe three in the sentence of your episode or your podcast title, and
Mhm.
go that way. That would probably be the best bang for your buck without, getting the algorithm mad at you. You don't want the algorithm to get mad at you, because then it might not promote your podcast to anybody. I
Yes.
don't know if it will do that or not, but you don't want to, stuff your title with the
Yeah, and I
whole
think
bunch of
it is,
keywords.
yeah, just one or two because I realized with the Pod SEO website, it does say primary keyword and secondary. So you
Right.
definitely don't, yeah, want to stick to two because again, we want to avoid the keyword stuffing because then you won't rank at all.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Any other questions from anybody? No? Okay. So let me just give a few things that I've learned from podcast, and it's not specifically SEO. So what Heidi shared in this lesson is mainly for the algorithm, right? But what I want to share right now is for your eyeballs. You'll understand in a second. Let me explain it to you. So, for those people who put their episodes on YouTube, or if you create a thumbnail for your episode title, one of the things that you want to make sure that you do is optimize that image for people's eyeballs. Okay? And what I mean is this. Number one thing that you need to do, whatever image that you use for those thumbnails, whether it is on YouTube or for your podcast episode title, like not the overall podcast, but the episode title, if you have specific uh, covers, is put someone's face on it, either your face or the person that you're speaking to. The reason being is because we connect with people's faces, right? And if people who are scrolling on, on social media or on one of the podcasting apps or on YouTube, if they see someone's face, they can better connect with that person and be more intrigued to actually click on that link or click on that video or that podcast. So try to use someone's face or your face in your thumbnail. That's number one. Number two, and Heidi brought up Chat GPT earlier. Now, I use it all the time, right? Some people are scared about AI, but you got to use it the right way in order to use the benefits from it. Now, one of the things that I use ChatGPT for is to generate the titles for my thumbnails. And let me explain how I do this. I type into ChatGPT what my podcast episode is about, who I spoke to, some of the things that we talked about, and I said, ChatGPT, give me a thumbnail headline or a thumbnail title that reads like a newspaper headline. And the reason, and what it will do is it will spit out a few results for me. It may give me three or four results, and I can read through them and pick the ones. Sorry, and add. No, 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 sorry. You don't need to. Now, these are just what's going into the image. So let me just make sure that I'm clear. I would type that prompt into Chat GPT and see what they give me, right? Now, again, what Heidi mentioned before was for the algorithm, keywords. You got to find the right keywords for the algorithm, ones that rank high and that there is low competition for. What I'm talking about now is your image. You want to get a headline and put it on that episode title or that thumbnail so that when people are scrolling, that headline or that title of that episode can catch their attention. So this is something that I use ChatGPT for, is to get that. I feed it some information about what my podcast is about, and then I ask it to generate a title that reads like a newspaper headline. And then I take that and I put it, it may give me a couple to choose from. I say, give me 5 examples, ChatGPT, and it would give me 5, and I would pick the one that I like the best. And I would put it on the thumbnail, the image that when people are scrolling, they will see it and be able to, they'll be intrigued to listen to it because it stands out to them. It's a headline like in a newspaper or on a blog post, right? You when you go onto Google and you type in something and you're scrolling through the results, you more than likely will click on the result that jumps out at you the most, that answers the question that you are looking for. So it's the same thing with that thumbnail. This is something practical that you can do with your podcast. If you create a cover artwork for each specific episode or a thumbnail that goes onto YouTube. Okay, so does that make sense? Does everyone understand it, or did I lose you? I hope I didn't lose you. Pray that I didn't lose you. But you guys got that, right? Thumbs up, or just someone give me some feedback if you understand what I mean. Okay, did I lose everybody?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about, Chris. It's like when you go through YouTube, you see these images and they've got these captions on the images that are either bold or in colored. And it's just a few words that's really to grab your attention so that you will go into and listen to that particular post.
Exactly. Let me pull up my YouTube channel and just give you an example. It's a really clear example. Really clear example. Okay. So you should be able to see my YouTube profile right here. So this is the last episode that I did. Um so the title for this episode was Top Podcasts and Lessons from Season 2. Best tips, ideas, and insights from podcasters. That is the title. That's for the algorithm. But the title that I got from ChatGPT was I asked podcasters their number one tip. Here's what blew my mind, right? That reads like a headline. This is an example of what I'm talking about. So your thumbnail, it can be different from the actual episode title, right? This is what Heidi's talking about for the algorithm. The thumbnail image is for people's eyeballs. So when they are scrolling, they see this and it jumps out at them, right? And here's another one. Starting a podcast doesn't have to break the bank, right? And it's different from what's here. These ones have keywords, best podcast equipment for beginners in 2025. Keywords that are relevant for the search engine, for search engine optimization, right? So these are just examples of how I'm utilizing it. So I hope that makes sense. And I hope you guys got that. And if there are any other questions, you guys can let me know, and I will happily answer them while I try to get this other screen up here. Okay, we did the Q&A. Yeah, so we're just about to wrap up. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you to Heidi for coming and sharing all of this insight with us. I'm just so grateful that you said yes, when I asked you, and then you prepared. And actually, you know what? I'm also thankful that the internet didn't drop out either. But I'm just so grateful that we were able to go through this, and Heidi, that you shared all this insight with us. Um, and also, I want to make sure that you guys, if you are not connected with me yet, that you do that. So let me just get this up here. Where is it? I'm gonna share my QR code. There you go. So you can connect with me here. So this is my QR code. So all of my podcasts are listed on this QR code. And all of the people that I have worked with are also listed here. So you can go listen to my work. So I mentioned at the beginning that I'm responsible for more than 10,000 or tens of thousands of downloads, podcast downloads. This is just a small portion of it at this link. And obviously, you guys can connect with me on Instagram. That's the platform that I use the most, and on Facebook as well. Now, let me put the links in here for the podcast lab so that you guys can check it out now. And again, if you want to join the podcast lab to take advantage of all of the benefits that I talked about, you can do that at this link right here. And I will be sending it out after to everybody so that they can in the email so that you can go through the website, browse some of the information that's on there already. Now, I also am asking if you guys can also complete a little survey that I created here. Boom, there it is in the chat. Okay, so I have a little survey here. I would really love to hear what you guys have to say about this session. Give me your honest feedback. I have thick skin, so you can give me your feedback and hit me where it hurts if you need to. But I want to hear what you have to say about this session. And also, if there's something that you are interested in learning about with regards to podcasting in the future, there's a section in the survey, and I want to hear from you guys so that you can give me your feedback with regards to that as well. Yes, and Heidi put her Instagram there in the chat as well. So connect with Heidi. All of the links that we spoke about in this session, I'm going to send it all to you. And also, when I send out the recording, it will be in the description of the video. I'm going to post this on YouTube maybe tomorrow, and then you'll see the email that I'll send to you so that you guys can listen to it, watch it again. And again, the important thing with all of this is that we don't just come and listen. We come and we put what we learned into practice, right? And apply what we have learned. Take what we've learned and apply it, right? So that we can see the benefits of it. I've done some of these things with my podcast, and some of them, it actually works. All right. So the important thing is that we apply. We don't become just a hearer of what we learned, but we become a doer of what we learned. All right. So that's it. I want to thank everybody for coming. I appreciate you guys so much. And it was an hour of your time, and I'm so grateful. Heidi, again, thank you. And for those of you who are here live in the session, thank you. And for those of you catching the replay, if you listen to all of it, thank you. I appreciate your time. The next session will be next month. And again, we're going to talk about the business of podcasting. And again, I don't know if it's going to be open to everybody or if it's going to be members only. But you guys are all on the list. So I will send out and communicate all of that. But the best way to make sure that you're a part of that is to join the Podcast Lab community. All right. So the link is there. Make sure that you join. And yeah, this is going to be great. Your podcast is going to go from this level to the moon. Okay, so you guys keep it up, and I'm grateful for all of you, and I'm looking forward to hearing all of the good things that is able to happen after you applied what we learned today in the podcast lab. All right, so thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and I will see you soon.